Rejection is a door that closes. Silence is a door left open in a storm, letting in every fear, every doubt, every demon you've ever faced. And that's why it destroys us in ways rejection never could. Let me tell you something most people don't realize until it happens to them. When someone breaks up with you, says they don't love you anymore, tells you it's over, that pain is sharp and real. But it's clean. It's definitive. There's an ending you can point to and say, this is where it died. Silence, though, that's a different beast entirely. They just stop. No explanation. No goodbye. One day they're part of your life, and the next they're a ghost who won't even haunt you properly. They're out there somewhere, breathing, living, probably laughing at someone else's jokes, and you don't exist to them anymore. The brutal truth is, our minds can handle bad news. We're built for it. Someone says, I don't want you. And yeah, it stings like hell, but your brain files it away under things that hurt but make sense. But when someone gives you nothing, your mind can't file that anywhere. It just sits there, this massive question mark that grows bigger every single day. And here's where it gets really messed up. Since they won't tell you what you did wrong, you start guessing, and those guesses, they're always worse than any truth could be. You become the prosecutor, judge, and jury in a trial where you're always guilty of something, you just don't know what. A rejection is one story with a beginning, middle, and end. Silence is 1,000 different stories, and they're all terrible. Maybe they found someone better. Maybe you were boring. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're laughing about you with their friends. Maybe, until you can't sleep. The thing that really twists the knife. You can't even hate them properly. When someone dumps you, anger is part of the healing. It's useful. It pushes you forward. But with silence, you're stuck in this weird limbo between fury and hope. Half of you wants to scream at them. The other half is still checking if they watched your story. That's the core of why silence cuts deeper. Rejection acknowledges you're human. You matter enough for an explanation. Silence says you're less than nothing. You're so insignificant, they can't even be bothered to tell you it's over. Every day without a word is another small death. Another confirmation that maybe you never mattered at all, because somewhere deep in your bones, you know the truth. If you meant anything at all, they would have at least said goodbye. The wound stays open because it never got to be a wound. It's just an absence, and how do you heal from something that isn't even there? Your mind isn't built for silence. It's built for answers. And when someone refuses to give you any, your brain does something truly cruel. It starts creating its own. Think about the last time you lost something important. Your keys, your phone, whatever. Remember that frantic energy, your mind racing through all the places it could be. Now multiply that by 1,000 and make it about a person who chose to vanish. That's what silence does to your brain. Here's what people don't understand about being ignored. It's not passive. Your mind turns into a detective agency with only one case and no clues. And since there's no evidence, it starts manufacturing scenarios, each one more painful than the last. The reality is, when someone rejects you, they give you one pain to deal with. When they give you silence, your imagination hands you a new pain every hour. Maybe they're with someone else right now. Maybe they're telling their friends how pathetic you were. Maybe they forgot you existed the moment they stopped responding. Maybe they planned this all along. Your brain becomes this torture chamber where you're both the torturer and the tortured. You wake up at 3 a.m. with a new theory about why they left. By breakfast, you've convinced yourself of something completely different. By lunch, you're certain it was that one thing you said 3 months ago. By dinner, you're sure they never cared at all. The exhausting part, you can't turn it off. With rejection, your mind processes the hurt and slowly moves forward. With silence, your mind is stuck in an endless loop of trying to solve an unsolvable puzzle. It's like trying to finish a sentence when someone took away half the words. And let's talk about what this does to your daily life. You see their name pop up online and your heart stops. Are they going to finally explain? Number, they're just existing, living their life, while you're trapped in this prison they built and left you in. You become hyper-aware of every notification, every sound your phone makes, living in constant anticipation of answers that never come. Your mind starts turning you into the villain of your own story. Since they won't tell you what you did wrong, your brain helpfully provides a list. You were too needy, too distant, too boring, too intense, too something, always too something. The criticism you invent for yourself is harsher than anything they could have said. This is what silence does that rejection never could. Rejection is a verdict. Silence is an eternal trial where you're guilty of everything and nothing, where every crime is possible because none were specified. Your mind becomes a courtroom where you're constantly defending yourself against charges that were never filed. And the worst part? There's no way to win, no defense that works. Because how do you fight an enemy that isn't there? How do you heal from a wound when you don't even know where you're bleeding? There's something about human nature that most of us never think about until someone's silence forces us to. We need to be seen, not in a narcissistic way, but in a fundamental survival way. And when someone acts like you don't exist, it strikes at something deeper than ego. It strikes at your very sense of being real. When someone rejects you, at least they see you. They acknowledge you're a person worth responding to, even if that response is no. But silence? Silence says you're not even worth the energy it takes to type "it's over." You've become less than a person to them. You've become nothing. Think about how we exist in each other's lives. Every interaction is a small confirmation. Yes, you're here, you matter, you're real. When someone suddenly withdraws all of that, it's like they've erased you from existence. And something inside you starts to believe maybe they're right. Maybe you really are nothing. This is different from loneliness. Loneliness is being alone. This is being deleted. It's having your entire shared history suddenly mean nothing. All those conversations, those moments, those pieces of yourself you gave them, they're just gone. Not rejected, not thrown away, just gone, like they never happened. The psychological impact goes deeper than most people realize. You start questioning your own memory. Did those good times really happen? Did they ever actually care? Were you imagining the whole connection? When someone won't even acknowledge your existence, you start doubting your own perception of reality. And here's the truly messed up part. You begin to disappear to yourself. You catch yourself wondering if you're really as worthless as their silence suggests. You start seeing yourself through the lens of their absence. If someone who knew you that well can just erase you, maybe there was nothing there worth keeping. It shows up in small ways at first. You hesitate before texting other people, wondering if you're bothering them too. You question whether your friends actually want you around, or if they're just being polite. You start feeling like a ghost in your own life, half expecting everyone else to stop seeing you too. The difference between "I don't want you" and "you don't exist to me" is massive. One is about preference. The other is about your fundamental worth as a human being. Rejection says your love wasn't enough. Silence says you weren't enough, not just insufficient, insignificant. This is why people who've been given the silent treatment often say it feels like death, not the death of the relationship. That happens with rejection too. This is the death of your significance, the death of mattering, the death of being worth even a goodbye. You become a living ghost, haunted not by what was said, but by the terrible possibility that you were never important enough to warrant words at all. And in that silence, something essential about how you see yourself starts to crumble. Because if you can be erased this easily, were you ever really there? You know what's worse than a broken heart? A heart that doesn't know if it's supposed to be broken. That's what silence does. It leaves you in this twisted space where you can't heal because you don't even know if you're wounded. When someone ends things clearly, your heart starts its work. It knows the relationship is dead, so it begins the burial process. But silence keeps you checking for a pulse on something that might have been dead for months. You're performing CPR on a ghost, hoping it'll start breathing again. The uncertainty becomes its own kind of hell. Every emotion you feel comes with doubt attached. Should you be angry? Maybe they have a good reason. Should you move on? Maybe they'll explain tomorrow. Should you grieve? Maybe there's nothing to grieve yet. You're stuck in emotional quicksand. Every feeling just pulls you deeper into confusion. Here's what really messes with your head. Hope. When someone rejects you, hope dies a quick death. Clean, fast, final, but silence keeps hope on life support. Barely alive, suffering, but unable to die. Every day becomes a maybe. Maybe today they'll reach out. Maybe today you'll understand. Maybe today the nightmare ends. This indefinite waiting changes you. You become someone living in permanent pause. You don't delete their photos because what if? You don't tell people you're single because possibly. Your life becomes a series of half measures, always leaving room for their potential return. The emptiness starts affecting everything. You laugh but wonder if they're happy. You meet someone new but compare them to a memory. You try to live, but you're really just existing in the space between what was and what might be. How do you move forward when you don't know what you're moving forward from? People around you don't get it. Just assume it's over, they say. But assuming isn't knowing. Your brain needs certainty to process loss. Without it, you're trying to heal from a wound while someone keeps ripping off the bandage to check if it's still there. The cruel irony? While you're stuck in this limbo, they've moved on completely. They gave themselves closure by walking away. They know exactly where they stand, far away from you. Meanwhile, you're still standing in the same spot, waiting for an explanation that was never coming. This is what silence does that rejection never could. Rejection lets you be the hero or villain of a story that ended. Silence makes you a character stuck in a story that won't end, can't end, because the other author just walked away mid-sentence. And there you are, still waiting for them to finish writing your final chapter. When someone breaks up with you properly, your heart knows what to do. It grieves, it goes through the stages, denial, anger, bargaining, all of it. There's a roadmap for that kind of pain. But silence? There's no roadmap for limbo, no stages of grief for something that maybe hasn't even died yet. You can't mourn properly because what exactly are you mourning? They haven't said it's over. They haven't died. They're just gone. And your heart doesn't know whether to hold on or let go, so it does both, tearing itself apart in the process. This is the unique cruelty of silence. It robs you of your right to grieve. Every emotion you feel comes with a question mark. Should I be angry? But what if they're going through something? Should I move on? But what if they come back tomorrow? Should I hate them? But what if there's a reasonable explanation? The hope is what kills you. With rejection, hope dies quickly. It has to. The words, "it's over," are hope's funeral. But silence keeps feeding hope just enough poison to keep it alive but suffering. Every day they don't reach out could be the day before they do. Every notification could be them. Every knock, every call, every message from anyone keeps that toxic hope breathing. And this changes you. You become someone living in constant readiness for a conversation that never comes. Your life goes on hold. You don't delete their pictures because maybe. You don't tell people you're single because possibly. You live in maybes and possibilities while life passes you by. The emptiness has weight. It presses down on everything you do. You laugh at jokes but wonder if they're laughing somewhere too. You meet new people but compare them to a ghost. You try to move forward, but how do you move forward from a place that doesn't technically exist? And the saddest part? The person who put you here has already forgotten you exist. There's something about silence that creates an invisible chain between two people. One holds all the power, the other holds all the pain. And the most devastating part, the person in pain is usually the only one who knows the chain exists. When someone rejects you, you're still in a dialogue. Even if they're saying no, you're both present in that moment. You're both acknowledging what you had, what's ending. But silence? Silence puts you in a conversation with yourself while they've already left the building. The power dynamic shifts completely. They control everything. When the silence started, how long it lasts, if it ever ends. You control nothing. You can't force someone to acknowledge you exist. You can't make them respond. You're left performing a one-person show to an empty theater, hoping they'll come back for the final act. What makes this so insidious is how their absence becomes a presence. They're more in your life now than when they were actually there. Every notification that isn't them, every place you go hoping to see them, every song that reminds you of them, they're everywhere and nowhere at once. The silence turns you into someone you don't recognize. You find yourself doing things that shame you, checking their social media obsessively, analyzing their every move for hidden meanings. Maybe you even text them again and again, watching your dignity disappear with each unanswered message. Meanwhile, they're living their life. This is the cruel asymmetry of silence. While you're drowning in questions, they've already found their answers. While you're stuck in the past, they're building a future. While you're desperately trying to understand what happened, they've already forgotten you happened. The most painful realization: they're not thinking about you at all. That silence that consumes your every waking moment. To them, it's just nothing. They're not actively ignoring you. You've simply ceased to exist in their world. You're screaming into a void that used to be a person. This is why silence destroys in ways rejection can't. Rejection is a form of engagement. It acknowledges your humanity, your right to closure. Silence strips you of everything: your voice, your dignity, your sense of reality. You become powerless not because they overpowered you, but because they acted like there was no power struggle at all. And perhaps that's the cruelest power move of all. Not defeating someone in battle, but acting like there was never a war. Not telling someone they lost, but pretending they were never playing. Not ending the relationship, but erasing it entirely. Making someone feel like they're fighting for something that the other person has already forgotten existed. When someone breaks up with you properly, your heart knows what to do. It grieves. It goes through the stages: denial, anger, bargaining, all of it. There's a roadmap for that kind of pain. But silence? There's no roadmap for limbo. No stages of grief for something that maybe hasn't even died yet. You can't mourn properly because what exactly are you mourning? They haven't said it's over. They haven't died. They're just gone. And your heart doesn't know whether to hold on or let go. So it does both, tearing itself apart in the process. This is the unique cruelty of silence. It robs you of your right to grieve. Every emotion you feel comes with a question mark. Should I be angry? But what if they're going through something? Should I move on? But what if they come back tomorrow? Should I hate them? But what if there's a reasonable explanation? The hope is what kills you. With rejection, hope dies quickly. It has to. The words, "it's over," are hope's funeral. But silence keeps feeding hope just enough poison to keep it alive but suffering. Every day they don't reach out could be the day before they do. Every notification could be them. Every knock, every call, every message from anyone keeps that toxic hope breathing. And this purgatory changes you. You become someone living in constant readiness for a conversation that never comes. Your life goes on hold. You don't delete their pictures because maybe. You don't tell people you're single because possibly. You live in maybes and possibilities while life passes you by. The emptiness has weight. It presses down on everything you do. You laugh at jokes but wonder if they're laughing somewhere too. You meet new people but compare them to a ghost. You try to move forward, but how do you move forward from a place that doesn't technically exist? Friends tell you to just move on, but they don't understand. How do you move on from something that never officially ended? It's like trying to leave a room that has no walls. You're free to go, but go from what? Where's the exit when there was never an entrance? This emotional purgatory becomes your reality, not quite in the relationship, not quite out of it, not quite abandoned, not quite chosen, just floating in this space between what was and what might be, slowly drowning in uncertainty while the world moves on without you. And the saddest part? The person who put you here has already forgotten you exist. Here's what nobody tells you about being abandoned through silence. It changes you in ways that rejection never could. Not just hurts you, changes you. Fundamentally. When someone rejects you with words, you learn about them, what they want, what they don't want. When someone rejects you with silence, you learn about yourself, who you become when you're desperate, how much emptiness you can bear, what you'll do for acknowledgement. The transformation starts with destruction. Their silence forces you to sit with yourself in ways you've avoided your whole life. No distractions, no conversations, just you and the echo of your own thoughts. At first, it's unbearable. You'd do anything to escape this confrontation with yourself, but slowly, something shifts. The person who needed their validation starts to fade. Not because you want it to, but because you can't sustain that level of need forever. Your soul gets tired of begging. Your heart gets exhausted from hoping. And in that exhaustion, something new begins. You start hearing your own voice again. Not the voice that's been screaming into their void, but your actual voice. The one that got lost somewhere between loving them and losing yourself. You begin to understand that their silence, cruel as it was, gave you something their words never could have. Complete separation. This is the hidden gift no one talks about. Rejection keeps you connected through the story of what went wrong. Silence cuts the cord completely. It forces you to stop being who you were with them and start discovering who you are without them. The irony? Their abandonment becomes your liberation. Their cruelty becomes your catalyst. The silence that almost destroyed you becomes the space where you rebuild yourself. Stronger, clearer, free. The moment comes for everyone who's been given the silent treatment. You wake up one day and realize you haven't checked their social media, not because you're strong, but because you forgot to. That's when you know silence has become your teacher, not your torturer. It taught you things no words could have, like how to fill your own emptiness, how to answer your own questions, how to be whole when someone tried to make you half. The lessons are brutal, but necessary. You learn that needing someone's words to feel valid means you've given them authorship of your story. You discover that the person who refuses to communicate is telling you everything you need to know about their character. You understand that silence isn't about your worth. It's about their limitations. But the biggest lesson? You realize you've been having the most important conversation of your life. Not with them. They left that chat long ago. With yourself. All those questions you asked the void, you've been answering them. All that love you sent into nothing, it's been returning to you. You learn to stop treating their silence as a question and start seeing it as an answer. They showed you exactly how much you meant, not through what they said, but through what they couldn't be bothered to say, and that clarity, painful as it is, sets you free. The teacher you never wanted becomes the teacher you needed. Their absence taught presence. Their silence taught you to speak. Their abandonment taught you to never abandon yourself again. And maybe, just maybe, that was the conversation that needed to happen all along. So now you know why silence hurts more than rejection. It's not just the absence of words. It's the presence of endless questions. It's not just being left. It's being erased. It's not just an ending. It's a beginning that never got to end. Remember this. People who can't communicate their feelings will always make you feel like you're too much. But you're not too much. They're just not enough. Not enough courage to speak. Not enough maturity to end things properly. Not enough respect to give you closure. Their silence was never about you. It was always about them. And now your life is finally about you, where it always should have been.